Hey there, John with Pool Genius, and today we're talking about a particular NFL Survivor contest strategy that has gotten a lot of popularity lately. So we wanted to dive in and see if you guys should implement it into your contest strategy for this season. I'm talking about taking the highest money line favorite, better known as the safest option each week. This has gained a lot of popularity, especially for newer players into NFL Survivor. And it makes a lot of sense. If you're joining an NFL Survivor League, you want to last as long as possible. So how do you do that? Well, you take the team that has the highest implied win percentage each week. Problem with that is it works on paper, doesn't always work out throughout the season. So what we did is we dove into the data and looked at every single year over the last 10 years to see how far you would actually make it if you were to implement this strategy. So let's jump right in and look at the data starting with last year. If you were to take the team with the highest implied win percentage each week, you would have been knocked out of Survivor in week one. That's right, the Bengals had the highest implied win percentage last year in week one, and they got bounced and beaten by the Patriots. Actually, if you were to look at the data, the team with the highest implied win percentage for 2024 for weeks 1, 2, 3, and 5 all lost. So if you were to implement that strategy, say you had another buy-in or you had a second chance and you took that team again, well, you would have been right back where you started and been out of the contest in week 2. 2023, however, was a different story. You would have lasted quite a while. You would have made it all the way to week 13. The team with the highest implied win percentage won weeks 1 through 12. They lost, however, the Jacksonville Jaguars lost to the Bengals. Remember when Joe Burrow had that injury and the Jags were favored by quite a bit and they lost outright. So you would have made it all the way to week 13 for 2023. 2022 had a similar fate of 2024 as it was the Bengals losing outright to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were the highest implied win percentage team in week 1 again, and you would have been knocked out in week 1 yet again. If you were to implement this strategy in 2021, 2020, and 2019, you would have lasted quite a while in all 3 of those years. 2021, you would have lasted till week 9, 2020 till week 15, which is quite a while and probably would have gotten you in the money in some form or fashion. And then 2019, you would have lasted till week 10. You would have not seen the same results for 2018, 2017, and 2016. However, 2018, you would have been knocked out in week 1 again. The New Orleans Saints lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers outright as they had a 80% chance to win that game, but they did indeed lose outright. So you would have been out of the Survivor contest again in week 1 for 2018. 2017 and 2016, you would have lasted to week 6 and then week 4. Both not very good results. Similar story again with 2015. You would have been out in week 2 as the New Orleans Saints yet again lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers outright. They had an implied win percentage of 79% that week. They lost outright. You would have been out week 2 of 2015. However, 2014, you would have made it all the way through the season. That's right, the safest team or the highest favorite of that season never lost. So you would have made it all the way through, been in the money, and cashed in. Another thing to note is that Survivor pick popularity for the safest team goes down drastically over the course of the season, since most players tend to, burn the safest picks early on. Over the first 17 weeks of the season, 17% of the safest picks had a pick percentage of 15% or lower, and 52% of the safest picks had a pick percentage of 30% or higher. After those 7 weeks, however, different story. 48% of the safest picks had a pick percentage of 15% or lower, and 25% had a pick percentage of 30% or higher. So overall, not a great strategy. You need to pick and choose your spots when you're going to be rolling with the highest favorite of the week because, as you can see, these teams are vulnerable. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. For more NFL Survivor and betting content exactly like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like our post, and as always, thank you for watching.